Hey, how's it going, Club Genentech? And welcome back to Q&A with the Coach. My name is Coach Mariano Sanchez, and I have the awesome, wonderful here, Patrick William. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're really busy. So we're going to dive right into this, Patrick. So we like just to kind of catch up with members that we haven't seen in a long time. And so, Patrick, how's it going, man?
I am sore.
You're pretty sore. You have definitely been getting after it, throwing some really heavy weight around. So I've been very impressed with that, man. Keep that up. You actually probably been working out more now that you had shelter in place than before. So there was kind of a blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah,
Talk to us. Sorry, Patrick. Tell me a little bit more about your day, man. Tell us a little bit what kind of happens in a day for Patrick.
every day is a little bit different. Usually, like the start of the week is a little bit busier than the end of the week. You can think of it that, we in California have to work with our colleagues in Europe and London and in Basel. And so it's like by the time we start our week, we're already catching up to our friends in Europe. And by the time we get to the end of the week, we're basically wrapping up. In the mornings, they tend to be a bit more busy, try to make our decisions, like try to have our important meetings or discussions that we need to have with our colleagues. And then we carry on for the rest of our day. Probably a big perk for me from working from home right now compared to having to go to the office. I don't need to go to the cafe. I can make my own food.
Yeah.
Eat right, lots of protein,
Mm-hmm.
all the boss's orders.
Yeah, lots of lean protein and veggies, right? I mean, that's key. That's a key to being home right now. I would recommend, anyways. Right on, man. So tell us a little bit about your journey to where you're at now. Kind of fill us in what's going on, your journey getting to your position, and how you got there, or what motivated you to do it.
Yeah, so my journey is a little bit different. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada, and I moved to SoCal when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always my parents' dream to move to California. My mother, she just hates the cold. Like you would send my mother back to like Canada right now, she'd probably die.
Oh yeah, no cold for her.
But it's like when I was a teenager in my early teenage years, we first came to San Francisco. And as Mark Twain said, there's no colder winter than a summer in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
So my mom said, nope. But later on, my dad got a job offer to move to SoCal. And, it's like a month later, we're in the car driving down. And here we were.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my high school and my undergrad in SoCal, went to UC Irvine. And that's where I discovered research. It's like I followed a lot of the pre-med path. Everyone in their in bio, it's like everyone and their mother thinks that they're going to become a doctor one day. And that wasn't necessarily the path I was thinking of having. I like to figure out the puzzle, not so much put like the square peg in the square hole. And I fit well in that kind of environment. But then there were like a few realizations that came along the lines that, if I wanted to make a difference, you needed to kind of like understand how to balance out medicine with research. And that was, a lot of inspiration that I had from the people that I worked with at the university and the people eventually that I work with and the different clinical environments that I had throughout my training. So I didn't have a green card yet at the time that I moved, and I was applying for programs. So I got into McGill, fantastic school, known across the world to do both an MD and a PhD. They do it as a combined 8-year program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I went through that.
Wow.
Basically didn't see daylight for quite a number of years. There was actually times when I was in med school where it's like you start so early the sun hasn't risen, and then you like go home and the sun's already set for like because the further you
see the sky at all.
The days are. Yeah. So people are always like, man, you look so young. That's right. It's because the benefits of never seeing daylight.
Oh goodness.
So, and then I moved back to the US for training, further training, because, Canada is not the greatest place when you really want to hyper specialize and really try to think of, creating new treatments, trying to change the world. It's like they appeal well to the averages, but not as well to kind of like the extremes and like small numbers of people that are quite different from everyone else. So I went back to the US, did my residency training at University of Maryland and the Baltimore VA. That was intense. Amazing clinical experience, great skill set I ended up being able to apply, throughout my career, and even solve some puzzles, when I lived in Texas for my HEMONC training. I ended up after my medical training, went to MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, stayed there for a few years, and then ended up coming here at Genentech. I think a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my mentors would look at me because they used to, my career advice back in the day was, I was listening to the sirens drawing me out to sea to die, because no one thought that immunotherapy was ever going to become a thing.
Okay.
And I got lucky that in the middle of my training, everything ended up actually blossoming, right? Like right as I was wrapping up my PhD, that's when Jim Allison's paper came out, about, ipilimumab and melanoma, and everything else that followed with all the immune checkpoint inhibitors that we're working on now today. And so with all the changes that were happening, there was, because everyone had been discouraged from actually working in the stuff that I work in, there was no one to actually do any of this.
Yeah. So you were
uh,
ready.
it was an amazing opportunity that presented itself. Just, the way, kind of like the promise of what your job was going to be when you started, like 15 years before, the world had changed by the time I finished my training. It's like,
Yeah.
in so many ways. And it became really obvious that the best place for me to come to, if I wanted to make a difference for patients, create some new cancer treatments, change the world, would be to come to a place like Genentech and work with the awesome people that I work with.
Right on, man. And now you are here, and dude, thanks for sharing that story. That's really, really awesome. And then I got to meet you and start training with you. And I remember the first day I met you, you came out wearing some really amazing cowboy boots, and I was like, "Wait, where are you from?" I just did not expect the cowboy boots, and really because I wanted a pair. I still don't have a pair. I still need to get a pair of those cowboy boots. But I'm sorry.
We'll hook you up.
Yeah, right. Thanks, man. You got to show me where to go to. You got to tell me where to buy them. But let's talk a little bit about. So people have probably seen you before without seeing you, I'm going to imagine. Let's talk a little bit about your car. What you drive up the hill every morning, and what is this like a dream car? Is this something you always wanted? Was it? Tell me a little bit about
Yeah, she is not subtle. Yeah, I'm sure if people have not seen me, they've heard me like drive down like Grand Avenue or like up near like B35. Yeah, so it's a Ferrari California Turbo. I fell in love with cars actually when probably while I was in Baltimore. My dad was a big car person before he passed away. He passed away right before I moved to Texas for my cancer training, and it's interesting how as you grow older, you become more and more like your parents than you realize. And one of the things about Baltimore, it's like it's nicknamed Bodymore Murderland, right? Like it has spectacular levels of violence. The kind of stuff that I've seen in my training is I mean,
Oh man,
it's like it's not even the same country. It's shocking stuff. So at the time, I was actually using public transit in Baltimore, like in the middle of the night, to go to the hospital and come back. Which caused my parents, who had become acclimated to the safety of Southern California, to be a little anxious. So my mom, at that point at the same time, like refused to drive in my dad's car anymore because she felt he drove it irresponsibly. It was a BMW 1 Series. It's a fun little car. And so my dad was like, well, I need to get rid of the car. And I'm afraid that Patrick's going to get shot. So he sold me the car for pennies on the dollar so that I'd be able to like get to work and not have to like deal with that anymore. And it was just such a wonderful little car. It was such a joy to drive. And it's really made me fall in love with, driving, because one of the things, like when you're going through residency training, you have 4 days off a month, and you're lucky. They call it a golden weekend if you have 2 days off in a row on a weekend.
Wow.
Right? Like that's how like, you hit the jackpot that month. It's kind of crazy. So what do you do like when you have that much time? He's like, you're not going to fly anywhere. So I used to, took the habit of going on little road trips and really enjoying driving and falling in love with that. So my dad's dream was actually to always get a Ferrari, and he never had that chance before he passed away. And what ended up happening is about a year after me starting at Genentech, I was, you're single with no kids. I mean, I had a little bit extra money left over and had a nice offer from my bank for a loan. So I'm like, I can probably do this right now. So the prices on these cars when they're used, it's crazy how much they depreciate. So again, I found a really good deal and had it shipped over, and here we are. And it is a joy. It is it is an absolute dream. It's better than therapy.
Right on. What's one of your favorite drives in it?
Probably a drive I do like a couple times a month. So I live near the financial district, near Rincon Hill, near the Bay Bridge.
Mhm.
So I love driving down the Embarcadero. It's like one of the sunniest areas of
Yeah,
San
yeah.
Francisco, if there is such a thing. Just like on the eastern side, we don't get as much
Mhm.
fog. And just like on the weekends, like in the morning when there's not too much traffic, just go down the Embarcadero all the way through the peninsula, down the marina, by the Golden Gate, and work my way back. So it's like a nice leisurely drive, like to go through the city through like these beautiful vistas, and then just hop on 280 to loop back into the city, which is usually not too crowded.
Yeah, right. I love it, man. And you talked a little bit earlier about how much you enjoy cooking now.
Yeah.
What is one of like your go-to dishes that you cook?
Well, nowadays it's honestly like I've been finding different ways to use chicken because if there's one thing I've needed from our training is just having a lot of protein.
Mhm.
I'm hungry constantly now. It's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
it's a lot of my recipes date back to my great grandmother. It's like I grew up in an environment where it's like I didn't have a stay-at-home mom, but my mom, just the culture was my mom would make dinner, and so I just got used to having like these family recipes dating back generations. Especially desserts. The desserts are lovely. Just like these cakes, like we talked about it like yesterday. It's like I made a cake for my friend's
Yeah.
birthday. It's like each cake, the frosting was like 2 cups of sugar and a stick of butter, right?
Of course, that's the way dessert's supposed to be, I suppose, right? But no, you're supposed to not eat those anymore.
Which is why we have training.
Yeah. Balance, right? You are a big believer in the balance. That's right. And that's amazing that you use that you still are in tune and still using your grandmother's recipes. I think that's super, super impressive. Patrick, so hey man, I know that you have so much on your plate and you got a lot going on and you probably got a nice little drive. What we like to do here, we like to do a little bit of rapid fire questions here towards the end of these where we start wrapping these up. So I'm going to throw some silly questions at you. Just let me know what comes off the top of your head. Here's one I think you might appreciate. I don't know why I think you might appreciate it, but what's your favorite pizza topping?
So this is a dish that I recreated when I
Uh,
lived in Texas. Uh,
okay.
so a lot of my cooking is there's the great grandmother cooking, and then there's the stuff that I miss from everywhere that I've lived because I've
Yeah.
basically lived everywhere. Right, like San Francisco is going to be a controversial statement, but some people will agree with me that the Mexican food is here is not quite the same.
Hmm.
I got used to that border Mexican food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to learn how to make that and how to make margaritas. Um, and so one of the things that in Texas, the Italian food isn't great like the Northeast, so I had learned how to make that. But then when I moved here, I missed one place, and it was a restaurant called Cane Rosso, and they had an off-the-menu item called the Honey Bastard, which was it's like a Neapolitan-style pizza, San Marzano sauce, mozzarella, hot sopressata, honey, bacon marmalade.
Whoa. Say that again. That sounds amazing. Hey,
So,
these are rapid fire questions, by the way. Okay, but keep
okay.
going. I want you to finish this question.
So I was able to recreate that, and I experimented a little bit with some of the toppings I could find in the city. So it's like the Patrick special nowadays contains smoked mozzarella, bacon marmalade, which I figured out how to remake.
Oh,
Uh,
goodness.
these nice little pepperoncinis from like these Italian delis that they make themselves.
Yeah.
And I stole this from what's it called? Tony's Pizza. Little bits of ricotta on top, like in between,
Ooh.
and just a touch of honey. And then
Speaking of food, all right. What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
two things. So the number one, probably legit strange that people will agree, would be these ribs with mole de chicatanas
What?
and mole.
Oh, okay. All right.
It
Yeah.
was a place called Zochi in Houston. It was like
Right.
like weird hipstery like Mexican places. The chef was like a James Beard Award winner. The place was wonderful. I loved it. And I mean, it doesn't taste like ants. I mean, you don't see the ants, but it's just, it tells you on the menu that that's what the mole is made from. But probably the other thing that's really weird is, I love to make drinks. So like there was one of my books that was talking about different kinds of rums, and there was a rum called an agricole rum. So it's very different from, say, like a barrel rum, which is more like a bourbon or tequila or wine in the way that it ages and gains flavor. They're often referred to as funky rums. And that was the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. It's so bad. I served some to my friend because he didn't believe me about how bad it was, and he just like started spewing profanity at me. And I reminded him.
Oh God. Do you still have that bottle, or did you give it away?
I accidentally left it on his counter last time.
Okay, I'm sure you did. And the last question, my favorite question is, what's your favorite quote?
So my favorite quote actually is something, I was thinking about that. What would I want to say? The best preparation for tomorrow is to do today's work superbly well. This is a quote from Sir William Osler, who is a very famous physician from McGill, who eventually helped found Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. So it's like our workouts, man.
Yeah. Hey, man, thank you. Yeah, you got to keep practicing, right? Get better for the next day. Prepare yourself for the next day, right? Hey, man, thank you so much for taking time. I appreciate you, Patrick. I'm sure I'm going to see you sooner rather than later, so we can just keep getting fit. Hey, until then, Club Genentech, thanks for tuning in. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Maybe share your favorite quote. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay fit. See you later. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.